Hello, my beautiful art friends. I've decided on my 2025 art goal, and I'm going to be joining Kristen over at Hello Lovely People and painting 100 mini paintings for the year 2025. So shout out to my sister for sending me that reel, otherwise I might not have joined this challenge. But I am ready and prepped. I have 100 3x3 pieces of watercolor paper cut, so I have all of my canvases ready when I'm ready to paint. And I'm going to add a little bit of a twist to the challenge. I'm going to be using these inspiration dice to pick all of my subjects. So let me show you kind of what's on each of the dice. So really quickly, here are some of the dice examples. There's things like color palettes or subjects, seasons, and then there's some that I'm also not going to be using. Like this has different mediums. I know I'm going to do watercolor, so I don't want this one. Oops. This one has a lot of subjects I'm really not interested in doing, so I'm going to skip that one as well. I'm also going to skip the different styles, and also I think I'm going to skip the emotions, but maybe I'll add those back in along the way. I guess we'll see. All right, let's find out the first painting. Oh, looks like this one's coming up first, and we have spring. Nothing says spring to me quite like a tulip. So I found this free reference photo, and then I sketched that out on our little canvas. So we're gonna get started painting. I'm gonna work on the flower first and then add the background later. So I'm gonna go in with the darker areas. I am gonna mix up a little paint over here. It's off camera, you can't see it. But I'm mixing up some reds and some pinks to paint in some of these darker shadowy areas. That way we can keep building on those layers and continue to get them darker. Okay, we took a short break to let that layer dry, and we're going to add in some the next layer of colors. I did forget to mention originally that I was going to work wet on dry, which means I have wet paint going onto a dry paper. When I do the background, I'm going to switch to wet on wet, and you can see how that kind of changes how the paint reacts. So I'm going over the original layer and it's deepening up the color while adding the medium values in where I want them. Okay, so I've left my very whitest layers still white. I'm going to come back on a third pass after this dries. And as this dries, this will lighten a little bit as well. So I'll touch up in those bright white places and fill those into a lighter pink, and then touch up any other shadows or midtones I might need, and then we'll do the background. Actually, while this dries, we're going to go ahead and add in the stem, since we can do that without it touching. And make it, if you let wet watercolors touch each other, then they bleed into each other. We don't, in some cases it's great. In this case, we don't want that. All right, last layer. Okay, now it is time to do the background. I'm going to be very careful, and I'm going to wet the entire background that I want to color in. And then I'm going to start putting paint onto that wet surface. And you can kind of see how it'll bloom and spread, much different than the very straight lines we were able to accomplish working wet on dry. Now we want this wet, but not sopping wet. So practice is going to be key here to get that consistency right in your background. But definitely don't want it to be too wet. Now I'm going to start dropping in different greens and blacks to kind of fill in the background and give dimension. Do you see how that's blooming and it's not staying in kind of a straight line? That's exactly what we were going for. I'm also going to start adding blue in here, like it's the sky peeking out in the background. So I don't like where it's smudged right here, so I'm going to try to add a little water to it and then lift that color. Just going to take a clean paper towel and just blot that up. And then we're going to try and reset that edge. Okay, so we're going to let that dry and come back in with another layer, and we're going to touch up that edge as well. Okay, I'm going to go in and add kind of a lemon yellow glow into this white area over here to kind of make the background join the foreground, but also give the flower kind of a glow so it really stands out.